Remember, I warned you. Leave this house tonight.
I'm Eulogy and Mortimer, and you're here watching the Mad Monster Cinema. First of all, if you weren't, then why the hell would you be watching it, Red?
Welcome, kiddies. It's time to watch a scary movie. Here in Eulogy and Mortimer's Mad Monster Cinema.
Mortimer? Why are we in this before?
You tell me.
When I told you to bring me my vanishing dream, I didn't mean for you to masturbate with it.
Well, if you hadn't dried off your shower on the same towel, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Well, that's a sticky subject. All right, tonight we are going to dig deep into the annals of horror history and pull out another turd. This one, as a matter of fact, is called The Naked Witch, for no reason whatsoever. And where did we find it? Well, I found it quite by mistake, and I guarantee that nearly 90% of you have never seen this piece of garbage.
I've never seen it, for God's sake. Ugh.
I know, and it was directed by Claude someone.
Claude Balls!
Ah! Well, he would have probably directed a better film. Anyway, all right, we're going to carry our invisible asses on into the film as usual, and we'll join you inside. And we're with witches! Ooh, well, you actually think this movie was made about witches? Whoa! Who in the hell is that? All right, here we go. And I just have to say, to everyone watching, you are now in for 15 minutes of utter bullshit. All of these titles. Woo! You scared the shit out of me. This whole thing is completely irrelevant to the story. So you are going to be hearing Mortimer and I try to make it better. We're trying.
Yeah. This is more like some sort of documentary on witches. Like some goddamn Christian thing.
Well, all I can say... Wait a minute. What is that a picture of? Is that a frog? I see. Chicken, frog, and your veg. That's enough of that, dear. It's a... I don't know. It looks like it's like some kind of wheat connected to a frog, connected to a raw chicken, or...
And then it got run over by a car.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I am trembling in fear and in shuddering terror as we speak.
Great minds have sought to explain these things.
Oh, now we have a picture.
Of the world hang the work of the master artists of
Stop.
our day.
Wait, no, too close. That's my nose. That's, damn it. All right, now we got a real good look at this. How you see your bum? Oh, look, it's the Cirque du Soleil.
Yes,
Help
indeed.
you understand these murderous creatures.
Are you the
Wait.
key? Are you the gatekeeper? The key
But
master?
that will bring us back to the
This
time
is like
known
some
as
kind
the
of
Dark
column.
Ages. And the witches
Is
held
that a
much
Ferris
of
wheel?
this
What the
in that
fuck?
black grip of fear.
Oh! Oh my goodness. I bet I know what that face is good for. Oh, what the
Doing that
hell?
right there.
Wait a minute. Oh, it's Aunt Effie. Remember she had all the nipples.
Yes.
And the
I
evil
thought they were
forces
pimples.
behind them.
You know, you can see pictures like this on any carousel in Germany that says something for
his soul
Germany.
to the devil.
Hmm.
To do this, they must renounce God.
I'm
and all other
still
things
not
that
sure
are
what we're
decent
looking at.
and
It is like the gates of hell.
It is
Ah, a drum head.
It was a head drum. It's a, you know, he had a show in the 80s, Max Headroom. Wait, no,
That's Headroom.
Headroom, yes, sorry. That was
their
him,
bodies
yes.
disappear or change into any
Come
kind
here,
of
woman.
beast or animal.
Woman, woman.
I am following the
Ominous
leader,
shadows
the
across the
leader,
lives
the
of
leader,
others.
the following the leader.
Place the hand on the shoulder of the person. Wait a
Causing
minute.
them to go
Harry?
blind or
Yes,
losing
oh
their
yes,
minds.
this was taken earlier when we were trying to make it through this trek.
They could turn
Oh,
their
Harry!
lives into
I was so
nightmares
bored.
of
I see you.
For the
Is that a
devil
fever in the
their
background?
They
Oh,
must go forth upon the earth, serving only the
Jackal.
powers of evil.
oh, and yet another
Witches meet in the
congregation.
night.
With a mushroom in the middle of it.
What the
Usually
hell
in
is that?
old
Is that a
secret
tree? Or
dungeons.
no, there it is. Oh, I see it. There's Waldo.
These
Oh,
meetings were
yeah.
called
And it looks like a
and were always held during the night.
Oh,
advertising.
and here you see the great Caligula monarch in its
And
environment.
many of the
Yes,
finest
indeed.
paintings by the great
Oh,
artists
those
of that
fun
period
times in my
tell
past
the
life.
story more eloquently
Now
than
it looks
words.
like one of them pictures you
Of the
stare at and you
strange
see a
and
3D
evil
image.
things that
If I
take
stare at it long enough, will I see a good film? Oh,
No, just to do with the
Here
crossbow.
for the sinister ritual in the form of all kinds of
Okay, this is a duck. I mean,
It's
a
a-
horn-billed platypus.
right! It's a trombone-billed platypus in boot.
They would begin
What?
by celebrating
Oh.
what was known as the Black Mass.
Stop cutting off my
This was
arm, you
always
big
conducted by
brute.
some
Oh.
ex-member of the church
With
who
his
had
hand shoved up
renounced
his
God
ass.
to serve the
And
devil.
that is a
Oh, Ivy!
elephant
Black
ivy.
mass.
Oh, Ivy.
Yeah, right. Okay, now he's got a meat
Some of the
cleaver
most
and
horrible
she's
criminal
got
acts
duck
took
feet.
place.
Oh, I see a fishtail. What the hell? Oh, it's Aunt Jemima crying up a baby. What? I just don't understand.
Oh,
That's Aunt Effie again.
Yeah. Look at those feet.
Big old blue feet. That's Aunt Effie.
And that
Following
there's a
this
little
ritual,
cousin over
the
there
entire
protecting his
gathering
weed.
would throw themselves
It's a map
into
of
the most
Six Flags.
depraved orgies of filth and obscenity conceivable to the human mind.
Perfect! Perfect!
But to
Absolutely
these
perfect.
creatures,
Now it's a
it
grim
was
fairy
all
tale.
terribly exciting,
And the
and it provided an excuse for their unbridled
I am
lust.
just absolutely
And
flabbergasted at how much shit you can actually put in 15
The
minutes.
fact that it
Holy
had to be carried
shit.
out in utmost
Oh.
secrecy made it
Looks
all the more
like-
thrilling.
Doesn't that look like Custer's last thing
Yet
on
those
those
same
little
evil,
donuts?
murderous
I,
creatures who changed their bodies into all
okay,
sorts of
and
hideous
now we're to
and engaged in
people
those unbelievable
standing
rituals
outside
by
of the
night.
door.
Bully day! It's a bully day!
It's a bully.
Yes, it's a bully day!
Bully.
We're going
Such
to
as
dance around in a
shopkeepers,
circle.
housewives,
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. But, and we're back
and
to
as the years went
That's,
on,
yes, exactly.
the
It's
witches
possible.
continued
That's
their
somewhere
ruthless assault upon
in
the
Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is said that they called forth all the
And we're going to go and look
That's
at.
a big fucking size.
That's a very long horse.
of the devil.
Yes.
Oh,
From the
we're going to
beginning of
catch
the
up his
15th
bum.
century
He got
through the
squashed by a
18th
giant
century,
ukulele with
witchcraft
wait,
ran
wait.
with a naked person wound up in the strings. I'm telling you right now, there is a whole weed dream in this, and we're back to the
the
fucking
Middle
frog.
Ages
All
became
right.
the Dark Ages,
Yay.
the age of witchcraft, the age of fear. But men and women who still had the courage to fight did so with all the weapons they knew. And after 5 centuries, the tide of battle turned. In many European countries, the practice of witchcraft was made a capital offense. Rulers decreed that their countries must be freed of this terrible scourge, and that all convicted of practicing witchcraft must die. Armies were called out to hunt down the witches. The fear was so great that entire villages said to be infested by witches were put to the torch. The old records tell of flames rising high into the night sky and hideous creatures streaking across the burning heavens, screaming foul obscenities. When confronted with death,
So now we're
many of the
discussing
treacherous
any
witches didn't
given
face
night at a
justice
bar in
once.
Lower Chicago.
Even the hardened soldiers who were trained to kill turned away sickened by some of their terrifying confessions. One group of witches alone
And I'm sickened
confessed
by
to
this
murdering
movie.
over 2,000 babies and small children, bought from the brothels and slums of the big cities. At last, the witches were no more. Old superstitions and taboos had yielded to the powers of light and knowledge. We, who live in the light of the 20th
And look,
century,
it's Amblin Entertainment.
only in fantasy.
Oh my
A hideous
God!
old woman sailing through the night sky on her broomstick. We are certain that these murderous creatures who walked the world in the Dark Ages, committing their atrocious crimes and casting their evil spells, never really existed, except in the twilight zone of the mind. But are we mistaken? From deep beyond the edge of light, from somewhere out there beyond the grave, beyond the dimensions of life, do these ominous creatures still exist? Let us see.
This is the very witching time of night, when churchyards yawn and hell itself gives up contagion to this world.
Claude Alexander, I was way off.
Oh God! Written, directed, edited by Larry Buchanan and Claude Alexander. Produced by Claude Alexander, another person who just could not get away with having their name all over everything. Oh my God!
Ray Plague.
Cineservice of Hollywood. Hollywood actually had something to do with this piece of shit.
Yeah, right off the corner in the toilet.
Oh. That was
Penis Adams.
and the Durst Maggie flapping and flapper flopping the children's choir. What the hell? And introducing. Oh, Heidi. Oh no, Kurska. Kurska. Oh my goodness, he's a little hot.
Well, with Bobby Short.
It's Libby Hall,
Ooh.
the naked witch. They should be ashamed.
If I could have known of the strange and haunting experience that was waiting for me, I never would have driven any further into the hill country of Central Texas. There are those who say that it was all a dream, and that it didn't happen at all.
And I just got out of there having dental work done, and I feel over my mouth. There's a matter of a sitting in toilet.
Perhaps you will be able to believe it if I tell you about where it happened and the people who lived there. To begin with, it was early spring, and there are few places in the whole world as lovely as Central Texas in April. But this is not the Texas of cowboy lore, for here, snug in a green valley rimmed by evergreen hills, are trim, clannish, thoroughly German villages. The German settlers came in 1846 seeking religious asylum in America. The green hills, the rocky slopes, and clear rushing streams reminded them of the hills beside the Rhine. From limestone outcroppings in the encircling hills, they built their thick-walled homes, most of them still standing, mellowed to amber.
All right. Is this some
Still
sort of
occupied by
fucking
the
science
settlers.
film or a history film that we used
And
to
they
watch
have
in
kept the
junior
faith
high?
that made their grandfathers brave sickness, isolation, and Indian raids, so that it be kept alive. A characteristic of the valley is the great number of bells, church bells, the Abendglocken, with
The
even
Abendglocken sounds like
no
somebody
single
puked in a
bell
turban.
have rung
Ha!
for 100 years, calling the children to schoolhouses that were built by their great-grandfathers. Though English and German are spoken interchangeably, German is taught in the schools and is still the language of social contact and of the home. and they sing in German.
Oh, we're just gonna walk across this boat. Oh, wait, you're supposed to skip. Skip, skip, skip to the loo, skip to the loo, skip to the loo. Walk to the bathroom. Skip to the loo, skip to the loo.
Yes, this was spring, the time of Sangerfest, the singing festival. I was trying to get to the village of Lukenbach, where a singing festival was in progress. You can joke all you want to about how far a sports car can go on a gallon of gas, but when they're out, they'll sit there like any other car. I was already late, so I decided to leave the car and walk into the village. This was the last day of the singing festival, and the last day I could take away from college. I was writing a thesis on the early Germans in Texas, and the festivals were important to my research. As I walked through the countryside toward the village, I thought to myself how lucky these people were to live in such peace and unspoiled beauty. And yet, as I approached the old burr mill on the outskirts of the village, an ominous feeling crept over me.
Oh dear, I've had those ominous feelings too, and if you don't do something about it right then and there, you'll shit all over yourself.
Back 100 years, as indeed they soon would.
Wow, look at this toad. Oh my goodness. He's creating power to that house.
Oh yes, you see, this is Professor Trade. He invented the very first power generator. Fuck you.
I'm looking for a place to stay for the night. I wonder if you could help me.
Schönig sehen, mein Bruder Hans. Good beer. Wiener Schnitzel.
Wait,
Sounds good enough
what
for me.
the absolute fuck was that?
First
Beer, Wiener Schnitzel, is he inviting him over to Heidi's house for Oktoberfest, or what the fuck's going on?
Either that or Der Wiener Schlager.
I rode one of those at Six Flags.
Yeah!
Of the old country, and had taken some village children to the festival. She said that her grandfather would be glad to have me at the inn. As we turned to go, I couldn't help thinking that the old miller could help me in my search, so I turned to him. He seemed pleasant enough as I asked him if he could help me. But when I mentioned the words superstitions and witchcraft, he simply turned and...
Piss off, I'm working for Mel Brooks.
Oh!
I dismissed the old miller from my mind as overly sensitive, and we started walking through the village toward the inn. I tried to ask Kirska questions about the village, but she was interested in what she called the outside. What it was like at college. What kind of clothes were being worn by girls her age. Suddenly I realized that I was out of place in this village, with its century-old homes and clean-swept walks. But as we approached the inn, her mood changed. It was as if she wanted to help me, but couldn't find words to explain how.
You must be careful. The old ones do not like to speak of the spirits and or hex.
And your grandfather?
Grandpapa will be glad to have you in our house. He will talk of anything you wish, and much of what you don't.
That evening, after a good German dinner by the fire, Hans Schunig, the innkeeper, puffed on his pipe and tried to find words to answer my questions.
Ja, mein Bruder, de Miller. The villagers, they are afraid to talk of those days when the spirits were about our valley, especially the Lukenbach witch.
The Lukenbach witch?
Suddenly, he had turned into Grandpa McCoy from the real McCoys. Look up for a Lukenbach bitch.
But we must not talk of the witch.
But I promise you, I'm not going to say anything to anyone. I'm just interested
Good night.
I had just about given up hope of any help from anybody. Come in.
This water is fresh from the well.
Fresh from the well, my ass. Look at that stuff. It's more like, hi, this is straight from the asshole.
Do you have to go?
Gross.
I mean, well, I'm not having too much luck with the others, and I thought someone younger might be able to help.
PYT.
Like you.
Pretty young thing.
With my
Oh, PYT. Pretty young thing. Oh, my boobs are going
Sure, it was
everywhere.
the German immigration you were writing about.
But, okay, so it's not just about the immigration story. So it's also about customs and legends and strange oddities that we're hereabouts.
And witchcraft?
Listen, I didn't say anything about
You can be honest with me.
All right, so I'm interested in witchcraft and sorcery in the old colony. What's the harm in that?
The old folks do not take these things lightly.
I didn't mean to upset your folks the way I did. But what can be the harm in a guy researching something that happened over 100 years ago?
You would have to live here to know us, to understand these things. You're what we call friender. You're from the outside. They don't trust you.
Are they trying to
They
hide
don't
something?
trust you. They're calling you
Why are
Fender.
you so interested?
She's fixing to run over your ass, motherfucker.
It's an academic hobby with me. I know there's a lot of talk about witches and warlocks and stuff like that, and a lot of people actually believe it. But I've done a lot of research on witchcraft, and I actually believe it can be boiled down to a simple mathematical and economic formula.
How do you mean?
Look, in any history book, in any age where there was widespread famine, sickness, want, you find an outbreak of women being denounced as witches. In the late Middle Ages, thousands of people were executed in Europe and England. In Massachusetts, 20 witches were put to death. All of these were times of widespread disease and hunger. But when your people first settled in this country, they had not only disease and hunger to contend with, they had the Comanche Indian raids as well. Little wonder, then, that the ugly word witchcraft was heard in the new colony.
But what pleasure can you get from studying about all this?
To better understand the witch hunts we have today.
Witch hunts?
You would think that after the delusions of New England and early Texas, the urge to hunt witches would have disappeared from the Western world, but nothing of the kind. The medieval idea of witchcraft was replaced with things like race and nationality.
What can I do to help?
Your grandfather mentioned the Lukenbach witch, but caught himself when I tried to find out more about her. Now, I've heard of this case before. Can you tell me something about her?
There was a woman called the Lukenbach witch. My grandfather and granduncle will not talk of it because it was their grandfather, Schoenig, who denounced her.
The settler that built this inn?
Yes. In this very room. In that very bed.
Don't leave now.
I have an old book, very old, which will tell you all about it. But you must not tell the others about the book.
You have my word.
I'll just be a minute.
Kirska,
Yes.
you have the sweetest smile.
Is that what the college boys are telling all the country girls this year?
No, I really mean it.
I believe you.
It's just that I don't ever really notice anyone until they get a little bothered and light up like a candle. You know, with your German good looks set off with something simple and black, you'd look like a little cameo.
I'd better hurry.
As I finished my packing, I actually felt that my luck was changing for the better. Just how much better, I couldn't describe. You'd have to see her.
Oh, how dare she? That cunt's wearing my favorite
Said something
nightgown.
simple and black.
Isn't that
I did? Oh, yeah, I did.
Shouldn't you close the door?
Yes, of course. I'm not sure I've got you figured.
Because I asked you to close the door?
Well, yeah, that and
You wouldn't have
Oh,
grandfather
I
in there for
get
alone.
it. She's an puss seller.
You think I wanted to be alone with you?
No. Well, to tell the truth, I'm not sure what I thought at the moment.
I'll tell you. You didn't think little country girls ever thought of being alone and things and life.
But,
Well, who knows more about life and things and being alone than farm people?
Well,
It's just that farm people don't talk about it too much. Too much talk ruins it.
I'll be...
I'd better give you your book now and go. 'Cause after giving you your book, I have no reason to stay. Except on one condition. And that wouldn't be fair to you. Good night, friender.
Well, I'll be there.
The early Germans in Texas. To understand and properly know how witchcraft and suspicion raised its ugly head in the early colony, remember that in the first year of the settlement, typhoid, sleeping sickness, and other bitter hardships were climaxed by an epidemic that took the lives of 200 of the 600 settlers. The villagers looked for someone on whom to blame the troubles. What better subject than the widow who walked by moonlight? The widow who was too aloof to speak to the women of the village. The widow who caused the whispers about a clandestine affair with the innkeeper Scheunig. The widow witch, they called her. Witch? It must be remembered that this was a time when a man of power could conveniently denounce as a witch any woman discovered with him in his bed. Such a man was Otto Scheunig.
Yeah.
Well, Otto?
Well, widow?
What excuse is it this time, Otto? What excuse?
I have asked you to give me more time, woman.
I have given you time enough. You must decide between us.
I cannot break charity with my woman while she is infirm.
The villagers are talking. I hear their mouthing when I pass their doors.
What are they saying, widow?
They're saying that I have taken the bed of an invalid wife. They're blaming me for their misery.
Dear Lord in heaven, is that Judy Garland?
I thought that was her.
No.
It looks just like Judy Garland. I mean, right down to the alcoholic twitch and everything.
Yes.
It is the curse of the widow witch. My washerwoman tells me that on Sunday last, the preacher read from the Old Testament. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. You must take me away from all this.
I cannot break charity with my woman while she is infirmed.
You have broken charity with me? What am I? A chattel to be used when convenient? To function where your wife cannot? To lie with, but not to marry?
Quiet, woman. Keep your tongue.
I'll not be silent. For I fear this talk of witches was born with you. Is it you who have woven this web of spectral evidence about me? Is it you who have called me a witch? Oh, your face belies you, Otto. Would you have me burned?
Yes. Yes. Witches are for burning.
No! No!
Stop your shouting, woman.
Let her hear me. Let all hear me. You belie me.
They are here now. The elders are here to learn how you cast your demoniac spell over this house.
No! No, you lie!
I have told them how you cast your spell over my wife to make her invalid.
Hello there, can we come in? It sounds like you're having an argument. Well, looks like you're having one anyway. Look at it, just like somebody slapped the fuck out of her.
That same night, under cover of darkness, they took the widow to the graveyard. There are those who said that she waited proudly without fear, and that she whispered over and over, Tot au alle Schönigs, death to all Schönigs. I will return. And with the self-same spire, I will kill all who bear the name of Schönig. How convenient for Otto Schönig that there could be no trial. Death would be by post-oak spire. They buried her not 100 yards from where she had lain with the cruel and deceptive Otto Schönig. was, the mummified face of the widow, with eye sockets staring. And among the crumbling bones, the stake, now petrified stone. What a prize. If I could but take the stake, and the temptation was too much.
Oh, you stole her wooden dildo, by God. Oh, she's coming for you, motherfucker. I would. Well, she's naked. And she's a witch. There you have it. That is the most amazing resting bitch face ever!
Oh, what's she doing? What's she doing?
She put down her wooden dildo.
And she's fondling her pussy.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, ooh.
Is that what it is? I mean, it looks like a throw pillow on a gingham dress. What's it? Is that a cat? Oh, my hands. My hands. I swear to God, if she just picked up a black dress and a broomstick, I'm going to scream. Oh, uh-oh. What's she going to do?
She's going to fondle her.
Oh, she just snatched her up by her boosting halter. Well, I guess I know what she just did with that stick.
won by water.
What the hell? I mean, did she break the seventh seal?
The next morning,
Or
the
she
elders
just
came to
had
the
her
inn.
period.
They
Shooting
had fished the body
in.
of
Well,
the
that's
miller
not
out of the
racist or
blood-soaked
anything.
Not at
hill
all.
pond. There was no question of what had happened, for they had also discovered the empty grave of the witch. I tried to speak up, but words wouldn't form in my mouth. This was all a dream, I wanted to tell them. This thing didn't happen. But as the elder continued to talk, the sudden realization came to me that it was true. I had uncovered a grave of a witch, and now, after 100 years, she had returned to avenge herself. The elder warned that no one should leave or enter the village until the witch be found and return to her grave. Surely the witch would not stop at one death. Where would she strike next? The only two villagers with the name of Schoenig were the innkeeper Hans and Kirska. As the moon rose, we did all we could do, bolt the shutters and wait.
And won by fire.
I was the guilty party. Just as surely as if I had held the stake, I had killed them. I could no longer contain my guilt. And yet, some kind of power kept me from speaking up. It was as if I was hexed by the witch herself. I made up my mind to find the witch and stop the killing. The librarian must have wondered at my strange questions. Under the guise of research, I asked her if there was some place people could hide in the hills by day, maybe some place where they went to during the Indian raids. Yes, she could help me. There were some caves downstream from the mill. I had my information. And so that night, as the moon bathed the hills with light, I crossed the mill race and headed toward the caves downstream.
this stock footage from the film Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? There must be something in the water. Yes, the dirty smell of rotten fish.
As I watched, fascinated by this beautiful creature, I couldn't believe that here was a vengeful witch who had murdered 2 and was sworn to kill a 3rd. For a moment I felt sorry for her, this lonely nymph whose friends were water snakes in the moon. And she seemed to know every sound of the night.
Look, Panda's a pretty girl. Look at the girls. Girls, sure do love them. Killing that lily pad baby. Y'all here.
I'm gonna wash frog shit right out of my hair. Gonna wash frog shit right out of my hair.
Croak.
As her eyes met mine, all thoughts of capture or punishment of the witch drained from my mind. I was helpless. Her power and beauty engulfed me, and I found myself completely obeying her will. I followed quietly as she picked up the gown she had torn from Kirska's back.
Oh, here it comes. Oh, God. Oh, here it comes, baby.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm going to get you. I'm going to splash water on you.
No.
I'm going. Whoa.
Oh, there's a hole here.
Go get it. Oh, God.
Oh, I'm sorry, dear. Oh my God, I blew your candle out. Oops.
Oops. Now come here, baby.
One by water, one by fire, but all shall die by the self-same spire.
What? Wait, what the hell? Where's that organ music coming from?
Let's see. What is it there? Schnurken, flacker, snack, kerska,
Flabber,
flapple,
snacken.
snacken.
Oh shit, that means danger! Oh shit, I'm coming, Ellie Mae! Help me! Okay, here we go.
The hills are alive with the sound of witchcraft. God, I sound like Ethel Merman. Well, bitch, don't give me that look. I haven't heard you sing. Oh, look, it's Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, I got a stick. Oh, there she is. Oh, here it comes. Oh.
Well, you stay back, Glenda, or I'll pick you as well.
Kirsta! Later, in the cold gray light, I spread the dirt over the widow. My feelings were mixed.
You know that term, mixed?
Here was a woman
that the veterinarian fills out on the form when even he don't know what the fuck you
yet
got.
she had been denounced maliciously and killed by the same stake. Was she witch or wronged widow? It is not for me to say. I am only glad that her tempest is over and she has returned to her 100-year sleep.
I know just where to take you when we see a show. The horror picture movie is the place to go. You wrap your arms around me when the show begins, 'cause it scares you right out of your bobby pins. We do the Frankenstein rock. We do the Frankenstein rock. Oh, you quiver and you shiver and you shake it with pride. It's the only time I ever get to hold you tight. Old Frankie's so tremendous, he's got stitches in his head. He meets a teenage werewolf and forgets he's dead. They call the zombies over and they have a ball. Then Dracula returns and he scares them all. We do the Frankenstein